So, Joel, you've got a highly successful online training business. You had this career before where you were into bodybuilding and you were so successful. You've got a young family. You've got all these competing interests in your life at the moment. How do you manage staying fit and healthy?
I think building up that consistency for years now. So try and keep this long story short. Back in 2008, I made a New Year's resolution to give up the drugs and the alcohol and focus on my health and fitness. And at the time, I lived in Sydney. I was a council worker by trade, and that's the life I knew. So spent 12 months, giving up the party life and going to the gym. And I saw the light. That changed my whole life. And since then, I packed up everything in Sydney, moved up to the Sunshine Coast, started my own business. And the first few years, people noticed me in the gym while I was doing my PT business, and they suggested, mate, you're in pretty good shape. Why don't you try natural bodybuilding? So I did it back in from 2010 to 2014 and did pretty well. And I think at the time it taught me a lot when it comes to training and nutrition. And that's how I started the business back then when it came to the online business. And I think the foundations from natural bodybuilding back then has built that consistency since then. So I've still got it built into me. But as you mentioned, I've got a young family. I'm 43 now. And it was like the day I turned 40, I found things harder. The recovery was slower. I was fighting my training and recovery. And 2 years ago, we had our baby boy, and that sort of just pushed me to want to get more out of life. So yeah, lately my training intensity has come down, and now I'm just trying to fine tune things on how to keep it going up until I'm 100, and I'm just trying to get more out of life.
I think that's the important thing that we want to impart on people is that how do you want to live your life when you're 70, when you're 80 years old, right? And I think the question you need to ask yourself is, do you still want to be living independently? Do you still want to be traveling with your wife? Do you want to be playing with your grandkids? Do you want to be able to lift your grandchild off the ground?
Mm,
Do you want to take them out on walks? And if the answer to that is yes, well, absolutely, you need to start now. You
mm,
need to start at your age because what people don't realize is that chronic disease doesn't just set in overnight when you turn 70 or over the age of 65.
mm.
Chronic disease takes 15 to 20 years
Yep.
to set in. And by understanding what your biomechanics and your biological you is doing in your 40s is so important to preventing that chronic disease as you get older. So, 43, right? What made you decide to want to come to Empower Longevity? What was your thought process? And you're so fit, you're so healthy already. What was it?
Okay, so I didn't know much about the business model. I met you in
Yeah.
person. So every Wednesday I do a hit session down in Noosa at Hastings Street. There's 200 stairs there, and I do a high intensity interval session down there once a week. And I saw you there with your shirt off, and I saw this monster of a man. I was like, this guy's got to be a UFC fighter or something. And I pulled you aside. I said,
Just
but
I can't fight my way out of a
yeah.
brown paper bag, right? So just let's
I said to you, mate, are you a UFC fighter? What do you do? Like, and he goes, oh, like, you go. No, I'm a nurse. And I'm like, yeah, makes sense. A nurse. You look like a nurse. Um, but it was just along the lines on you were doing 10 sets. You're the same age as me. Your recovery was crazy. I have been, you know, looking into potentially starting TRT,
Yeah.
and I've been looking into optimizing my hormones, but I've built a business called The Natural Transformer. So I've got this battle in my brain, and I didn't want to just jump into it, even though when I was doing natural bodybuilding, when I first started PTing, there was coaches around me, there was guys around me saying, you got to get on this will change your life, all this. But speaking to you and you listened to my story, you didn't say, yeah, you got to do this. You were like, let's have a look at your biomarkers. Maybe we just got to tweak a few little bits and pieces just so you can get a little bit more out of your life, because you heard my story. You heard that I've got a newborn son. You've heard, everything about my business and myself. And you're like, maybe you said these tiny changes will definitely get more out of your life. And that's how I was hooked. And then when I learned more about the business model and how much you guys give for the amount that you're charging, I honestly don't think you're charging enough. You give so much. I just, I'm all in with it. And I just, those tiny little tweaks that you've got me on with your team, it's made a huge difference. And I know for a fact I'm getting more out of the days now, and we've still got so much room to improve. I've got this battle in my brain that, yes, 10 years ago, and it's inevitable, you're going to age. But I've got a battle in my brain. I do try and sleep well. I'm doing your regular saunas, your ice baths. I eat amazing. My training, like I said, my intensity has come down over the last few years only because of my recovery. But I've got this battle in my brain because I'm thinking I tick all the boxes perfectly, yet I'm still feel like I'm not recovering. I'm inflamed. There's just something missing. And with just these tiny little tweaks that you've got me on with my supplements and really honing in my sleeping and managing the stress, I can feel by the time I am 70, I'm going to get a lot more out of life. And I suppose that's what the goal is. I want to be able to reach 100 and, keep walking, keep moving. And otherwise, what's the use of this life if you're not going to get the most out of it?
Yeah, I look, I think there's this real common misconception about TRT, in that TRT is only really for bodybuilders and people that want extreme performance or bio age hacking, right? But after the age of 35, your total testosterone drops by 1% each year. But more
Feeling that.
importantly, your free testosterone, which is the bioavailable testosterone that has its effect at the cellular level, drops by 3%
Mm,
each year. All right. So men, as they get older, they go through this thing called andropause. It's a lot slower
mm,
than women go through menopause, but it still happens. So you start losing energy.
yeah,
It's harder to maintain lean muscle. You start increasing fat a little bit more. Energy and fatigue starts to creep in. Look, testosterone is not just a libido drug, right? But in your case, it was very, very important that we looked at other things before we looked at
for
testosterone-based
sure.
therapy. Not only because of the business that you built on that premise, but you also said, and I took note, the fact that you wanted to have a family, right? So there are risks associated with TRT and fertility. Um, so having a look at what your body system was specifically doing, and I'm sure you won't mind me talking about
No,
this, but the biggest thing, two of the biggest reasons why testosterone within men falls at this particular age is stress, it is sleep, and it is inflammation, right? And the reason why is because cortisol and testosterone are made from the same precursor cholesterol, pregnenolone, right?
mm,
And your body will always preference cortisol over testosterone because cortisol is seen as the fight or flight hormone,
for sure.
right? And so when we're in this constant stress state, our circadian rhythm gets disrupted and our cortisol levels continue to rise throughout the day,
Yeah,
therefore preferencing cortisol production over testosterone production. The other thing is that cortisol raises inflammation. And when we raise inflammation, it actually prevents testosterone binding at
for
the
sure.
cellular level as well. And so when we looked at your biomarkers, we identified this information. We identified this out of whack or dysfunction within your cortisol, your adrenal function. And so there was something to optimize, and that's very important. What we pride ourselves
Mm,
on at Empower Longevity is that we like to optimize all of the body systems first
yep,
before we go on to TRT,
for sure.
because TRT only works if everything is optimized well, right?
That's right.
So since we've done that optimization for you, how have you found life since then?
Yeah, I think I'm finding I'm getting more energy. My sleep is a lot better. And I feel like just those supplements that you've just got me to tweak and it's like laser focus on those specific markers. I'm definitely finding I'm got more energy. And I remember our first meeting together, you said, what do you want out of the next 6 months? What do you want out of this? And nothing came to my mind about body composition. I'm happy with my shape. It was all about reducing the foggy brain, getting more energy, having more energy for the family and the business. And I think this day and age, it's inevitable with the technology, social media, running a business. Like I've got thousands of members that we're dealing with, and we've got our own natural supplement range. And I've got the internal team to look after. I think this day and age, it's inevitable to avoid stress. It's going to keep creeping in some way or another, no matter what. Running a family, running a business, running
Mm,
life, like just pressures of living these days. So I think trying to avoid stress, it's impossible. And I think getting these right markers or getting the markers up to where they are, like we've been working together for just over 3 months now, and we're going in the right
yeah,
direction, big
definitely. Yeah,
time.
for sure.
And that's just getting the right vitamins on board, the right magnesium on board, just the right little tweaks here and there. Um, I'm definitely feeling a lot better and very confident of where we're heading. And again, I'm not opposed to my whole goal even before meeting you, and again, I was going in blindly. The whole goal was, yep, I could potentially start TRT when I'm 50. But now, if we can get as far as we can over the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months, and then we've hit the ceiling, I'm open to, starting it
Yeah,
because I know I'm in the right hands. And if I was to start a family as well, I know we can tweak a few things
yeah,
and, still get ahead in that
yeah.
way. So,
That's still an option. Like TRT is not off the table
no,
just because you want to have kids. Yeah, there is the risk of infertility, but we have got protocols that we use that allow us to put people on TRT but still maintain
yep,
their fertility. So I think it's really important that you listen to the individual, right?
for sure.
You find out what they want out of life. You find out what is important for their health journey, and then you provide a solution
Yep,
that best fits them.
for sure.
What are the best things you've found about working with us?
Phil, I've been really good with the nuts and bolts, the
Yeah,
training, nutrition, managing the stress, the sleep.
yeah,
The four big pillars I feel like I've been really good at, and I can only imagine majority of your clients aren't really ticking those boxes off. But I think having the right team on board to go in and go laser focus on those bits and pieces that I've been missing I've been in the game in the fitness industry for over 15 years now. And like I said, I've been really good at those four pillars. I really honed in when I was doing the natural bodybuilding. And now, as more of a lifestyle since then, I've been pretty good at it. But just being a bit more, having the snipers on board and going laser target onto the bits and pieces I haven't been picking up, that makes a world of wonders because I believe at 43, I'm probably playing in the top 10% of my age. Like I'm in that top 10% when I can still do backflips, I can still move the body
yeah,
amazing, and I can still function really well. But if I want to enter that top 1% of the world, this is where I need the team on board. And that's where I feel I've got the most benefit out of this.
yeah. And the longer you have that mindset and continue to want to achieve those goals, well, then the easier your life will become
For
when you're
sure.
70, when you're 80, and you're going to be able to enjoy it, right?
Yep.
And the thing that we find is that biomarkers, bloods, don't lie.
Yep.
There's nowhere to hide
For
as
sure.
well. And then we've obviously used other concepts, the continuous glucose monitor, the VO2 max testing to get a really good indication of
Yep.
baseline about where you're at,
For sure.
and then develop a plan
Yep.
based around that. So, have you found the process enjoyable? Like, or has it been, is there anything you found that, you
Yeah, I
haven't
think
enjoyed?
putting my mind at ease,
Yeah,
like just having you to, be able to talk to at least once a week and you guide me onto the right pillars, I think that is huge. Just to have the right people on board and having that right coach on board specifically. And again, I've been in the game for a long time now, and not once have I really wanted to sign up to someone. But what drew me to you is how genuine you were and how passionate you are to help people. And I'm the same, but you just listening to my story and then just having that accountability each week, it's made life so much easier. And I don't think I'm just going in just guessing like everyone else is. Like without a coach, I feel like you're just going in blindly. Everyone's working with the AIs these days and they're just guessing and they're just seeing all this other stuff out there. They're playing around with the peptides and stuff. They don't know where their hormones are sitting. They don't know where their markers are, and they're just guessing their way through it. And who knows what you're putting into your body? Who knows what you're doing to your body? Whereas when you've got a coach or a team like you guys, I feel like you can just put your mind at ease. It makes the process so much easier, and you sort of just know exactly where you're heading.
yeah. I think that's a good point, right? Look, there's a lot of other companies, and I'm not gonna lie, there's cheaper companies out there to go with, right?
Can I
Um,
just say
yeah,
something? Cheap things are cheap for a reason.
yeah, exactly. And that's my point is that there's a lot of these other companies out there, they're testing for things that they only need to test for to prescribe you that particular medication, right? They're not testing for everything that they should test for to really optimize the individual.
Yep.
And I suppose that's what we've really tried to do with you. Now, I know the most important thing in your life is your wife, it's your kids. Has this changed your relationship at all? This journey changing your relationship at all with your wife and your kids as well?
I think we've always had a really good relationship, and I think every relationship has its ups and downs.
Yeah,
Every family has their ups and downs, and I don't know. I feel like if you're not continually learning or trying to grow, then you're dying,
yeah,
right? And I feel like keep working on the relationship, keep working on yourself as an individual, and getting out of the comfort zone. I feel like that's where the real magic
yeah.
is. So, yeah, I feel like the last 4 months since we've been working together has definitely brought us all closer, no doubt
Absolutely.
about it.
I have that same philosophy on life, right? I have these priorities where health, family, and friends, right? Friends will always come last before family and health. But I see family and health as interchangeable,
Mm,
right? Sometimes health is number one
yeah,
priority. And why is that? And I think you'd agree with this, is that for me to be the best husband and father that I can be, I need to be healthy.
yes,
I need to be able to think
yep,
clearly. I need to be able to, you know, concentrate at work, so I can be a provider as well. But also at home, it makes me more present.
yeah,
The healthier I am, the more present I am.
for sure.
You know, you get into unhealthy state, the depression kicks in, the anxiety kicks in,
Yep,
um, you know, and therefore your relationship starts to suffer,
for
right?
sure.
And so that's why I think being healthy and prioritizing that in life
Yep,
is very, very important.
yep,
And I suppose that's the kind of the message that we're kind of trying to send
for
to
sure.
people as well. You need to concentrate on your health. And it's
Yep,
it's not just about aesthetics.
yes, no,
It's not just about body composition. It's about where my family is going to be
yep,
when I'm at 70 and 80. I want
yep,
to be with them. I don't want to be in a nursing home.
for sure.
And so that process needs to start now, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Um, I've always thought, and I still believe it, and I don't want to get into trouble. I love my family more than anything, but your health and body should be your number one priority.
Mm,
That should be the top of the pillar, because, like you said, without your health, if you're got problems with your health, there's problems everywhere. It starts from your health. So I feel like your health and body should be your number one focus. It's what you wake up first with, and that's what you should be focusing first with. And then you can look after the family, and then you can look after the business or whatever else you've got to look after underneath that. But
definitely.
your health and body is the top priority. There's no doubt in my mind.
And we spend so much money investing in our futures, superannuation, working ridiculously long hours, investments, shares, investment properties. So, what good is that if you can't actually spend it, if you don't have the health to spend it? So, what would you tell to guys our age in their 40s now that are kind of struggling through life a little bit? What would be your
It's
advice?
funny because I speak to a lot of guys
Yeah.
our age. And when I tell them about what I'm doing at the moment, what I'm going through, their first question is how much? How
Mm,
much is it?
yeah.
Straight away to that dollar sign, which is I get it. I understand the living right now is quite hard for a lot of people, but where I can't really get it is because I've always put health and body as number one
Yeah.
priority. So I spend so much money and time on that. Um, but this is where people their mentality just needs to change a little bit. And again, if you don't have your health and body, everything else is going to crumble. So start prioritizing, stop buying the crap that's not going to push you or move you and your family forward into the future and start focusing on the health and body because the future, that's where you can have anything you want, but it all starts with your health and body.
Yeah. Joel, thanks for your time, mate. I really appreciate it. I appreciate having you in the business as well.
Mm.
We're very grateful that you've decided to choose us to help you through your health journey, and I'm excited for your future.
Mate, you took the words out of my mouth. I'm grateful for you and your team. I feel you have definitely changed my life. There's no doubt about it. And I feel like we're just warming up, and I can't thank you enough for what you do and for everyone else.